to my channel. My name is Angelique and I am super excited to bring you guys along with me today on a writing vlog. It is really cold today in North Carolina. It's like late fall. We have snow warnings and I have to go get, was that snow? I swear I saw a flurry just now. Ugh. I have to get snow tires on my car. So my husband has that appointment all set up. I just have to go take the car in today. And I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to go to this super cute little cafe that's near the car place. Because I'm such a strong, independent woman. And I'm gonna take the day to outline the second book in my series. So as you guys know, if you watched my last video, I finished the first draft of the first book. And I think it's the perfect time to start outlining the second book. I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a year since I've outlined a story. I'm definitely gonna bring my Save the Cat Writes a Novel book with me because I'm gonna need to reference that heavy for today. But I'm excited to get out of the house and like have another day of imagining this plot. I just haven't been in this headspace for a long time. So I feel like it's really exciting to get to do it again. So yeah, let's go run some errands and outline. Okay, so I just dropped off the car and now I'm walking across the street to this cute little cafe. It is so cold. I don't know if you guys can see my breath, but I can. Let me see. I don't think you can see that at all, but in my face it's like steam. Anyway, let's go for a little walk and then get to outlining. Literally right as I got undercover, it started to legit snow. Like there are huge chunks of flurries falling and it's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Hi, how are you? Good. Can I please have the white chocolate blackberry iced? I'll do the 16 ounce. Whole milk is good. Or no, I'll get it to go.
Well, it'll be in that,
so perfect.
What's the name?
Angie. Snowing heavy. Came out of nowhere. I hope all of this is working. I'm recording the audio on my phone, I'm recording the video on my camera, and then I'm also screen recording. So if any one element goes wrong, this could be a pain in the butt to edit. But anyway, here we are. I made a little outline of my outline. This is all by the Save the Cat method. So I have it broken down into 3 acts. And what I really like about Save the Cat 2 is it isn't just 3 acts technically, because Act 2 is broken down into 2 parts. Because Act 2 is actually 50% of the book. So it's a huge undertaking and a huge chunk. So breaking it up further really makes it feel a little less intimidating. And then we have Act 3 here. And what I did with this is each act, I put the beats that you want to hit in each of them. And then I also put the percentage of your story that you should be hitting that beat by, which I think was really helpful for me when I was coming up with my pacing, I guess. So I'll just go through it first. So we have Act 1, Act 2A, Act 2B, and Act 3. In Act 1, you have your opening image, which let me probably read to you how Save the Cat describes each of these beats. For our opening image, which is from 0 to 1% of the book, it's supposed to be a before snapshot of your hero and their world. And then we have theme stated, which is at 5% of your novel. And it's a statement made by a character, typically not the hero, that hints at what the hero's arc will be. That is, what the hero must learn/discover before the end of the book, also referred to as a life lesson. And then in Act 1, we also have the setup, which is anywhere from 1 to 10%. That is described as an exploration of the hero's status quo life and all its flaws, where we learn what the hero's life looks like before its epic transformation. Here we also introduce other supporting characters and hero's primary goal. But most important, we show the hero's reluctance to change, aka we learn the theme, while also hinting at the stakes at risk, should the hero not change. So that is the purpose of our setup. At 10% of the book, we have our catalyst. So that is described as an inciting incident or a life-changing event that happens to the hero, which will catapult them into a new world or new way of thinking. An action beat that should be big enough to prevent the hero from being able to return to their status quo setup world. Next, we have the debate. In every single act, there's a debate moment. So this goes from 10% of the book to 20%. A reaction sequence in which the hero debates what they will do next. It's usually presented in the form of a question, such as, should I go? The purpose of this beat is to show the hero's reluctance to change. You can see a theme here already that throughout your book, your hero is sort of fighting what's best for them until the very end when everything comes together. So that takes us into Act 2. So we're starting with Act 2A, which starts with our break into 2 beat. This is at 20% of the book. The moment that the hero decides to accept the call to action, leave their comfort zone, try something new, or venture into a new world or a new way of thinking. It's a decisive action beat that separates the status quo world of Act 1 from the new upside down world of Act 2. I really actually like this. I remember the first time I read this book and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Every time you ever see a story really start, they're kind of flipped on their head and like their entire environment is the opposite in Act 2 to what they were used to in Act 1. Let me see if I can think of some examples. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Don't know why that came into my head, right? He starts off in poverty, not much, in a very small shack crammed with all of his generations of family. And then in Act 2, he's basically in this dream world mansion factory full of candy and luxury that he never would have had before. It's pretty much exactly the opposite of his status quo life. Another good example is obviously like a Harry Potter. He also started off with like not much, living underneath a staircase, and then in Act 2 he's in Hogwarts in this huge castle of a school with magic at his fingertips when he was always stifled and supposed to not be special. So that's just sort of a couple of examples. I know it's pretty obvious, but I think that not making that difference between Act 1 and Act 2 can really sort of set you up for failure. It's kind of exciting, right? Let's go on to our next B. So now we're in the B story, which is at around 22% of your novel, the introduction of a new character or characters who will ultimately serve to help the hero learn the theme. Also referred to as a helper character, this can be a love interest, a nemesis, a mentor, a family member, or a friend. Next, we're into our fun and games. So this is like such a big chunk of the book. Fun and games goes from 20% all the way to 50% of your book. It's described as where we see the hero in their new world. They're either loving it or hating it, succeeding or floundering. Sorry if you can hear all the background noise. Also called the promise of the premise. This section represents the hook of the story, why the reader picked up the novel in the first place. So essentially, this is a big part of what you would read in a synopsis in the back of a book that gets you to go, ooh, that sounds fun and exciting. Let me buy this. So we're still in Act 2A, and now we're at our midpoint, 50% of the way through the book. Literally the middle of the novel where the fun and games culminates in either a false victory, the hero has thus far been succeeding, or a false defeat. The hero has thus far been floundering. Something should happen here to raise the stakes and push the hero toward real change. For me, I thought of this super visually when I was first starting the first draft of my book, and I literally drew either a line moving upward or a line moving downward based on what was happening with the character, so I could gradually see that I was tracking, especially because mine is dual point of view and making sure that their arcs were appropriately progressing, either upward or downward. Now we're officially in Act 2B. So we're at Bad Guys Close In, which goes from 50 to 75% of the novel. If the midpoint was a false victory, this section will be a downward path where things progressively worsen for the hero. If the midpoint was a false defeat, this section will be an upward path where things seem to get progressively better for the hero. But regardless of path, the hero's deep-rooted flaws or internal bad guys are closing in. So think of this as like if in this part of the book, your character landed a job or something or some big ultimatum and they think it's what they want and they're going down the right path. Maybe it's a false victory and they're realizing as they settle into this new job that they're sacrificing family way too much. They're sacrificing their relationship way too much and they're losing everything that's actually important to them. This is kind of what that's referring to. So now we're at All Is Lost. This is at around 75% of the novel. This is the lowest point of the book. An action beat where something happens to the hero that, combined with the internal bad guys, pushes the hero to rock bottom. And then our next beat is Dark Night of the Soul. This goes from 75% to 80% of the book. This is a reaction beat where the hero takes time to process everything that's happened thus far. The hero should be worse off than at the start of the novel. Think about that. This is a point of the book where the hero is worse off now than they were when the story began. The darkest hour, just before the dawn, is the moment right before the hero figures out the solution to their big problem and learns the theme or life lesson. That brings us to Act 3. So now we're at Break Into 3, which is 80% through the book. The aha moment. The hero realizes what they must do to not only fix all of the problems created in Act 2, but more importantly, fix themselves. The arc is nearly complete. Now we're at our finale. So this goes from 80% of the book to 99% of the book. The hero proves they have truly learned the theme and enacts the plan they came up with in the Break Into 3. Bad guys are destroyed. Flaws are conquered. Lovers are reunited. Not only is the hero's world saved, but it's a better place than it was before. Lastly, we have our final image, which is 99 to 100%. A mirror to the opening image. This is the after snapshot of who the hero is after going through this epic and satisfying transformation. So you kind of want to harken back to the opening image in a way and bookend it with sort of this like visual of a full circle moment, but they're all the better for it. So that's what I've done so far for my outline. And now I'm going to go through each of these beats and I'm going to come up with something for them. Wish me luck. Making two outlines because I have two characters that are both main characters, so I have to have two. I don't know why I didn't think of that for the first book. I just texted my husband and told him that it stopped snowing. Look at this. Okay, so I'm back in the car. Y'all, it is snowing. It is, yeah, my car officially has snow tires, so that's good, because if y'all know anything about me, I'm from the Bahamas, and in terms of America, I've only lived in Southern California, hot, Miami, hot, and that's it. The Bahamas to California to Miami, this is the first winter I've ever lived through. So it's the first winter I've ever driven in. So I'm going to be very slow, but I feel more confident now with my snow tires. I got some really good progress in. I'm gonna go home now and do some more outlining. But I'm getting a sense of one of my characters' plot pretty easily. There's another one that I have to figure out a little bit more of. And I'm even getting ideas for the third book now. Like, the juices are flowing. So I'm gonna get home and then keep it going. I've been home for a bit now, drinking my tea. Outlining the next book has turned into me outlining two other books that go in this series as well. But I'm not complaining because it's actually coming together really well. Like, I didn't realize I had this many thoughts around the entire series. I'm gonna take a breather for the rest of the evening and probably pick this back up again tomorrow, but I would call this a very successful outlining day. This is super nice to work this way. So essentially the setup that I showed you earlier with the acts and then the different beats, I'm doing that for all of the books, and I'm doing that for all the characters that have a point of view in the books. All the jumble in my brain is finally somewhere in order, which feels great. My brain is mush. My head hurts a little bit. I've literally been outlining all day, and it's everything comes to me so slowly. So I really do need like a day when I say I'm going to do something. But I have made such good progress. Outlining the next book very quickly turned into me outlining the next 2 books. And I would say the next book is probably like 70% outlined, something like that. And then the third book, I don't know, I would say the third book is maybe like 50% outlined, but this is something that's gonna take me like a while. It's really a puzzle, and I think as I refine even the draft I'm working on, because that plot isn't even locked yet, this is gonna fall into place a little bit more. But I'm really glad that I started this because I got a lot out of my head and onto the page. It just feels so much better looking at it in something that's like organized that I can scroll through. I have been reading the back of the Save the Cat Writes a Novel book. If you have the book, first of all, page 285 talks about whether you're writing a dual or a single or a multi point of view, which is very helpful, and then the tense that you're choosing to write in, and it kind of goes over all the different options with different books that do that version. And then starting at page 287, it gives you books on how to apply the beats to a series. This really helped me think because if you're gonna do like a trilogy, which is what I see for this, plus a novella tandem read, then each book is an act in terms of the overall series. So obviously each book is 3 acts and each book has 15 beats, but you're not just telling these little pockets of the story. It is one story unto itself. So each book, if there's 3 books, is an act. So you have to think in terms of where your beats land at each finale. Book 1 of a trilogy would end with a catalyst, a debate, which is a choice for the hero to make, and then a break into 2. And you can go back and look at what all those different beats mean. Then the second book of a trilogy would end with an all is lost moment, a dark night of the soul, and then a break into 3. And then essentially the third book of a trilogy is one big finale. So that helped me to like guide. It gave me like scaffolding to guide where my stories should end and like kind of on what note for each book. So I think I've thought about it as much as I can in the last 2 days, and I'm really happy with where this landed. And so I think I'm gonna call it on that and just piece things together a little bit more as I'm continuing to write. So for the rest of the day, I'm gonna take it a little bit easy and have a chill night in before I get up in the morning to go to work at the hospital tomorrow. So I'm gonna start to wind down my brain, but thank you so much for joining me with this process. I hope that you learned a thing or two from it, and of course I'll continue to update you as I figure out more pieces of this puzzle. If you haven't yet though, consider subscribing. I would love to have you here with me, and I will see you in the next video.